Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Colin.
Hey everybody, welcome to the big crossover. We are doing the 97 sessions. We have great nerd guests talking to us about X-Men 97, the nostalgia cartoon that we are loving / hating / crying about / obsessed with / don't want to be obsessed with.
Let's go. Look at us. Here we are, back again. Glorious. Where are we, Ashley? Speak up. This is your part.
Excuse me. Listen, leave me the fuck alone. Do you understand me?
I'd love to. I would love to. If these assholes haven't been coming into my DMs telling us to come back, you wouldn't hear from me again. I've had enough of them.
Oh, sit down. Let me do the show. For those of us who are here to talk about X-Men, yeah, let's do that. Welcome to another season of X-Men 97. It's me, it's and we are doing the 97 sessions. We are going to be here to talk to you about the cartoon that we all love, hate, sometimes feel indifferent about, but it's all very X-themed.
Shall we hold hands and start with the ceremonial chant?
Don't clap on the 1 and 3 around me, please.
I can't deal with this. Jackson, please just say something so he stops speaking.
It only took me like 3 minutes of being on the podcast to destroy this podcast. I've already driven you two against each other. Being the Conqueror shit. I'm really proud of it.
Last season, someone told us that it feels like they walked into the worst therapy session for a couple that they've ever heard in their life. And I was like, that's true, except I would never be with that man. How dare you?
I feel like that properly describes my appearance on Hex of Words, which was just genuinely me doing my therapy in public. I was like, I'm coming on to X-Men and I'm nervous. It's completely how it goes. No, I'm really happy to be here with you. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us. Jackson Lanzing, comic book writer, Eisner nominee. You might know him from the Hivemind, Jackson Lanzing, and Colin Kelly. Did I get that right? I got that right.
Yeah,
I get names very wrong. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of myself. I just want you to know that my favorite thing to do is to fuck up a name. So I got that one in one go. So yes, me. You might be familiar with Jackson from their Eisner nominated writing for Star Trek, or you might know them, your X fans, from their most recent run, NYX. Non-controversially, I will say, known by me as the best comic book to come out of From the Ashes period. But let's not dwell on that too much. And as always, I'm here with Ashley Alleyne once again to talk about, like he said, X-Men 97. We're very excited. Let's start at the very beginning. X-Men! Jackson, tell me, what is X-Men to you? What is X-Men 97 to you exactly?
So these two are two very different things, because when I was growing up, I actually wasn't allowed to read or watch the X-Men. Mm-hmm. So my parents had a rule. I wasn't allowed to read or watch anything as a kid that had people hurting other people. So like violence was out of the question. I could do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was totally fine. X-Men looked like people, and so I wasn't allowed. So X-Men became this kind of like fun contraband that I had to find in my own way. And eventually when I started reading comics, it was all X-Men books. I got on X-Men early, and X-Men became a really core part of my like upcoming into comics. And then of course, when I ended up at Marvel, it became the brass ring, the thing we were trying to get to for forever. And then when we got to NYX, it became this really beautiful actual like year of my life, year plus, where I got to spend with most of my favorite Academy X kids. So it was like a grand time. But X-Men 97 has been really cool because I specifically never got to watch the old animated series. It was never on my list. I never got to go back and watch it. It it passed me by, completely missed me. While most of my best friends, my writing partner, Colin Kelly, all huge fans of X-Men 97, or of the original animated series. So when X-Men 97 finally came out, I got to start partaking with everybody else, got to watch all of last season and like experience that version of the X-Men fan community for the first time, which was a real joy. And now I'm delved in. So I guess to me, X-Men weirdly is always about that sort of liberation from the expectations of other people. My parents had expectations of what I was allowed to watch and read. X-Men became my rebellion. I think that's a big part of it for me, which fits, I think, very thematically with the point of X-Men, which is to be oneself in the face of a cavalcade of forces telling you to be anything else.
Thank you. That was a very touching story, and I'm really glad that you shared that with us, and I love that this is a place where you can be authentic. The question that is pressing on my mind is the distinction between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the X-Men, because, okay, just taking at face value, they are both about a group of mutants who are fighting a forever war on behalf of their adopted father against their adopted father's boyfriend, who is obsessed with metal. So thematically, it feels like the same show. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are far more mutated.
I genuinely think that's why it worked. I think because that is the only distinction that my parents cared about, which was, do they look like people or do they look like turtles? That was it. That's as far as they went. You're right. By the time I got to X-Men, I had already gotten the story from Turtles, and then I was just getting to extend it outwards this way. But you're right. Like, the distinction is shockingly limited, but it really did come down to just an aesthetic distinction. My parents were just like, those look like people, and that's going to teach my son to punch somebody. That's a turtle. That's going to teach my son something about turtles. I don't know, man. I'm not saying it was good logic. And to this day, bless her heart, my mom like loves comics. She reads comics. She reads all of our stuff, and she will likely be listening to this. She heard me tell this story a lot over the course of the year we were doing NYX and Giant Size. And eventually she did call me and was like, that was a silly rule, huh? Come on. It was. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, no, we all make mistakes.
That's really sweet. The fact that she took it back.
I think at the time, she just didn't want me to grow up she didn't want me to be getting in fights on the playground. Again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't stop this. I think that was the problem. I do think it is wild, though, that they are both about the kids of an old professor fighting his boyfriend who's obsessed with metal. I never thought about that.
There's also that thing about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where didn't Daredevil accidentally cause them as well?
Yes. They were basically a Daredevil, like, riff. Everything in the first book is all referential to Daredevil, except for Splinter and Shredder, who now are canonically just Alt Universe, Xavier and Magneto, for sure. Yeah.
That is so sweet, because often when people say that, it's because of the fundamentalist Christian thing. Usually when people are like, I wasn't allowed to watch X-Men, it was like because it was witchery or wizardry, and like your parents being like, so they kill a lot.
Yeah. I just don't want my son learning to punch. It's like she saw that moment. There's a bit at the beginning of episode 2 of this season when Wolverine gets on top of or is it one? Wolverine gets on top of the Sentinel. That's you can't see me. I'm doing the Wolverine stabbing thing. And I think she saw shit like that and was like, I don't want him stabbing people with knives. And it's like, all right, that's not what's going to happen here, but I appreciate the thought. And then as a young kid, I had to watch stuff for adults because so much of kids' content, especially when I was young, was action figures smashing up against each other. They were selling us Transformers, they were selling us G.I. Joe, they were selling us X-Men, like all that was what was happening. So I had to watch a lot of PBS and documentaries and shit. And now you know why I'm me, right? That makes a Jackson, it turns out.
But that's good. Look, it's always good to have somebody looking out for your prefrontal cortex.
I don't know. I'm resistant towards that. I had that in reverse, where my mother didn't want me to watch anime because she thought they were too sexual. But she didn't care if I watched people blow things up. She didn't mind if I watched Pokemon, which is pets fighting each other. I was like, I think there are bigger problems here to address.
Honestly, I think that is valid. Like,
do you?
Let's bear in mind that our parents in that generation has a lot of problems, right? But in some ways, they were mentally well. And if you take somebody who's mentally sound and you play them 15 minutes of One Piece, they're going to go, the people who made this are not well. In this is very unwell. And I don't want to expose my child to this.
X-Men! To get us back on track on the X-Men, that is. What was your experience watching the first season then?
I loved it. I think what was really exciting for me was that it was also during that period that I was steeped deep in X-Men lore while doing both NYX and Giant Size and operating across from the Ashes line, because we had a whole Discord of all the writers and we were all communicating during that, especially during the early days of that. series. So we were all very plugged into X-Men. There was a constant amount of research that was happening on my side. I'm a big research nerd, so that's part of the way that Colin and I work is whenever we start a new Marvel or DC project that has a ton of history, I go back and I read the whole publishing history. Like I read as much as I humanly can. And X-Men's impossible, man. Like good luck, right? Like it'll take you a lifetime. But I went back and I read an enormous amount of it. So a lot of it was just living in my head in a chaotic jumble of moments and ideas and thoughts that I was able to pull from as I needed to as we were going through the series. But watching X-Men 97 was like watching somebody else take that string out of my ear and carefully order it into a narrative that was like, okay, this isn't the books, but it's taking a lot of great moments from across that series and really aligning them beautifully. I loved the characterization. Initially, I was annoyed by it, but I ended up being really into the characterization of Jubilee and Sunspot's relationship and how Bobby, who's always been a character I've really loved. He was a last minute cut from NYX. He was like a big part of the book up until almost the last minute because I was trying to force him in there. I love that character. He had such a great arc over the course of that first series that I thought was also just great for making Jubilee, reflecting Jubilee's X-Men animated series experience. And because now I've gotten to revisit some of that and show what she's learned, show how she can bring him into mutantdom. Like, I just thought that was a really beautiful dynamic. And then that Genosha episode, like that arc along still, to me, I think is the reason for the season. You know what I mean? Like once they did that, it was like your show now has a real reason to exist. Like you took the step that X-Men, I'm trying to think if they've ever taken that step in adaptation, like film or television ever before, of being like, not only are we going to really talk about Homeland, but we're going to show the destruction of it. And we're going to explain how that bigotry becomes active violence, how bigotry becomes war, how supposedly like terrifying micronations are actually just like slaughter targets for Western fear. Like all these things that X-Men to me is like one of the only Marvel films that'll really think about that. Here they were adapting it writ large and killing characters while they were at it, taking Gambit off table, who was their fan favorite. Like all these things over and over again that show did that I just thought were brave and daring and cool, and interesting. And I was really impressed, very impressed with X-Men 97 season 1.
Yeah. I do agree in that one thing that really stuck with me that last season is like how bold it was. And I didn't like it personally all the time. I have a lot of issues with some of the choices, but I think that is because like you, I'm a lore whore and I love like all the minutia. And there's that little toxic fan aspect to me when it goes slightly left. I'm just like, no, that's wrong. Bring it back to the way as I know it. That does peek in. But I did end up appreciating the boldness because ultimately, especially with an adaptation, when something does something that's significantly different but still works with the storylines, I appreciate it. I also agree with you in the fact that I think of it as a kind of a demerit, but also a plus. This is one of the few shows that opened up those kinds of conversations. It put the topic on screen. My demerit is that I wish they discussed those aspects more on the show itself. Like that was part of the plot line. But I do think it's significant, the fact that that is also a rarity when we have even approaching the topic on screen and depicting it. It's complicated for me. But what I did come out of that first season is really enjoying it, like enjoying the experience of it.
Yeah, I don't have a coherent thought about that just yet, but I remember watching it and feeling like it was the best it could ever get. It has to scratch the itch of nostalgia heads who want everything exactly as they read it in the comic. It has to give people who haven't come back to this in 25 years an easy enough story that they can understand and condense 5 years worth of content into something that's possible in 10 episodes, 12 episodes. And so my biggest, I thought it did a really fucking difficult job really well. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't, if you went, hey, we want you to make a fucking nostalgia show about X-Men 97.
Aha, you fell into our trap.
You've never seen somebody run that fast. There's no fucking way. So it was incredible, but sometimes it felt abridged.
Oh, it absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's one of the double-edged swords of it. You want to give everyone a bit that they can go, I remember that. But doing that means you can never dive into anything.
So what you're describing is exactly my experience watching, especially episode 3 and 4 of this season, where, and again, I'm getting ahead of it, but like partially that's because I am the author of some of that source material. That Kang the Conqueror stuff, that Kang apocalypse plot is a thing I wrote. I spent time on that. I know that. I went back and read everything that had been done with those characters. I built a thing out of that I liked that even in and of itself was an abridged iteration in the middle of my Kang story because I only had 5 issues to do what I needed to do there, right? But every time I see Rama Tut and Apocalypse on screen, my brain is great. Let me sit in this. This is an incredible dynamic. This is like one of my favorite dynamics. This weird reflection of colonialism that's coming in on ancient Egypt. Then on top of that, you have Apocalypse, who's going to be a representation of all the things that stepped on, regardless of Rama Tut. There's a deep amount of like political and social pillaring that just sits underneath those characters. And then I don't think they met.
No, they don't really interact.
I don't think they shared a scene that. And to me, that's the part where the fan in me, which is really just the creator in me, goes, oh, but that's the fun part. That's the thing I want to see. That's the dynamic that I'm looking to see explored. And the show, unless it's going to spend a season on that, it doesn't have time for that. It's an X-Men show. Kang is here as a footnote. Don't worry about that, right? I think you're always going to get that with the things that you're a fan of, especially with something with X-Men, because there's so much of it. What are you going to do? God help you if you're a big war fan. You got 3 seconds of that guy before they shot him against a palm tree.
On that note, he had it coming, to be fair.
He had it coming. He only had himself to blame.
If you've been there.
And if you've seen it,
I bet you would have done the same. All right.
And I would. Non, thank you for getting the shit done. Jubilee wanted to stretch her long neck, talking about why would we?
She didn't give enough time. That's what I love. Thank God for Psylocke. Honestly, truly, thank God for Psylocke.
Yeah. She was like, you need to sit in the chair and talk to the lady, right? Because that shit's really done.
Devin, she's just Quanon, right?
Allegedly.
You can see they are not trying to get involved, and I respect it.
I think the answer is like, is she Betsy? Is she Quanon? Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. She's Psylocke. It's fine.
If you like it, I love it. Okay, all right. So, should we talk loosely about episode 1?
Jackson, could you please give us your recap then for episode 1 of season 2?
All right, so we begin with my 2 brain buddies, Bishop and Forge. They're going to figure out a way to get the X-Men back to the 90s. I do love, incidentally, every single episode of the show has to have somebody say back to the 90s. Studio note, I don't know what's going on. It's great. So it follows them as Bishop's going to go way, way back in time. Forge is going to go way, way forward in time, basically 3,000 years in either direction or 5,000 years in either direction to get the X-Men, who are now cast across time after the events of Asteroid M in last season. Episode 1 is going to take us into the future to find Mother Ascani and the sort of organization of mutant refugees who are all working together to try to raise Nathan in what is essentially a version of the Age of Apocalypse. Forge arrives there, gets reunited with Storm. Daniel. They immediately make out, which made me very happy. I love that they just didn't, there was no time for anything else. She was just like, oh, you're here? Excellent.
I do it too. I do it too. And so would you.
100%. No,
we're going to get to it, but Forge, well done.
But so they arrive to find that Jean and Scott are about to make a giant mess of the timeline because they can't deal with their own displaced guilt for being parents.
There are all sorts of different families kicked in.
They are going to kidnap this kid. They are going to raise him out of the time stream. Damn, a time stream that doesn't let a parent be with their child. Meanwhile, they figure out that Apocalypse, who is operating all of this, is also looking for Nathan, and that only way to deal with this is to heist his Apocalypse train in the middle of all of this. They're going to stop Apocalypse's train. They're going to get Nathan to the heart of ship, where he's going to get united with his techno arm, and he's going to understand his virus. Oh, no, that's what it is. They get kidnapped. That's what it is. My brain's coming back. Take their risk. That puts them in the place of the 4 horsemen. 4 horsemen get Nathan and Scott and Jean deep into ship. Now they're stuck there. Jean and Scott get to reveal who they are to Nathan, get to finally pass along the parental lessons that they've always wanted. Facing down Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen, they finally manage to make Cable into Cable, start him off on his journey. In the process, they have to go back. So they have to finally let go of their connection to their son and let him grow up into the big, gunny, beefy boy that we all know he's going to be. And with that, I think I missed all the Rachel Storm stuff. But I don't think, do we know, has Rachel shown up on X-Men, the animated series prior to this?
She did in a cameo in the end of the final season at some point, but she never actually had a character. And she was briefly, I think, in a cameo also last season. But the two, I was just going to say, you missed 2 parts. One is Storm commands a solar flame to get this Hellcallier, or whatever it is, to move. That's important. That's the only thing she does in these 3 episodes. So let's note it. And then what was the other thing?
Real planet-size X-Men shit, which made me very happy.
That was it. And that was the recap.
X-Men. There's a clear distinction between you as a type A person and me as a type B person in this type of conversation.
You're very chillax. You're like, oh yeah, then what else happened? It's fine. It's cool. You're like, we'll get all of it eventually.
I don't know what happened on Wikipedia. There's a lot of exactly what happened.
So how did we feel about this episode? What do we think? Ashley?
I was a big fan. I think they hit it really hard out of the gate. And I think that was it. It was a great hook of a first episode. A lot of interesting things happened. Firstly, before she could get it, I was trying to find a better way to say that, but there really isn't. Maybe I just have to stand in my truth. That man, if you break time to come get me.
Listen, body count is going up, fam.
You could feel Storm was moved by that when she said, Daniel?
Daniel? What mighty wind blew you to me? The line that really got me, I wrote it down because I was just like, hot. This device spits in the face of time.
Papa, can you hear me?
Come on. I'm going to take off these very grating, rough future underwear right here. I know they're all over there wearing hemp underwear and trousers and all this.
Except for Scott. Scott's outfit is giving like hot Hurt Locker. I don't know what's going on with it. Got that like bomb collar thing and with the Phoenix V. Not dressed like this all the time, I would not mind.
It was a little Corsairy. I was like, I see you. I like it.
It was, actually.
So how do you feel about this episode, Jackson? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
I did. Yeah. I really think that they hit it right out of the gate. I'm a big fan of Age of Apocalypse in general. Like whenever you can give me an age of Apocalypse, I'm going to be a happy camper. I always think it lets X-Men go as hard as possible, which is generally where especially flagship X-Men really soars for me. So the minute they hard cut to the corpse field and then panned up his tower and there's all the arms coming out of the tower of people, like you get up to the top floor and it's just a sarcophagus is everywhere. I'm like, come on, it's great. That's exactly the kind of big, crazy, goofy, wild X-Men stuff that I always want to see. That made me very happy. And then I loved Scott and Jean and Nathan. Big fan of Scott, Jean, and that whole dynamic. I love Scott and Jean trying to be so chill about it, and then Nathan being like, I can hear you. A really great way to short circuit all the tension of it and get right into the meat of it, because they only had a half an hour. Just get in and do it. I just thought, given what they were dealing with there, all of that between core sort of personal relationships, they got a big giant scope, and then they get that one line, and I don't know if this is from the books and I never saw it, but when Mother Ascani looks at Scott and says, your season is summer, his is spring, and together you'll be able to avoid winter, I was like mad that I hadn't thought of it. Good line.
It was a good line. And she showed a lot of restraint because those are also my parents.
Papa?
That's why she was upside down on fire.
But Rachel at this point knows that Jean don't like her, so she doesn't really care that much. The only one that might somewhat care is Scott, and she was nice to him. But Jean, she's like, I'm not going to interact with that woman. It's fine. She doesn't want me in her life. I don't want her in my life, and I respect that.
People don't ask questions. We know the powers are hereditary, and if I turn up and you're upside down on fire, I might go.
To me, it was when she took the mask off and like Storm could see her. Her and her daddy have the same hard face. You wouldn't say nothing. You didn't want to say anything. But that is very Storm in this show so far, where she's just none of my business. This is none of my business. You want a soul affair? Okay, but this has nothing to do with me. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Listen, Storm clock's in for 7 minutes and 7 minutes only.
I'm a feature artist today. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna put on this hideous garment exactly one time.
I put my hair up with the Ariana pony. We're doing protective styles. I'm not gonna expend myself.
There we go. Once I sat down, I'm sat, bitch. So figure it out. You want me to talk to a girl? Pick one.
But my man is here now. I'm ready to go to my tent.
I want to know what she was thinking when Forge goes, how are we going to make this work? And she looks at him and says, what work? And I'm trying at that moment, I'm thinking to myself, either she is, you think you're my boyfriend, but you're not. But that's not what she's thinking, because she's full on into him. So I almost feel like she's thinking is, I don't see a problem. I see no issue. Why are you concerned? What do you mean?
We'll be fine.
Oh, you just came to the past. We made out. We good. Why are you worried? He's sitting there being like, but you're a woman of faith. She's like, bitch, I'm Storm.
Yeah, I have faith you have a time machine. What's going to happen? It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll fix it.
Exactly. And bearing in mind, Storm I have been here for 6 months eating rat biscuits.
They are circling a little white boy like he's Jesus. I am sat here watching this happen.
Now you've turned up, right? Smelling fresh, smelling like body wash. Skin glistening. You just broke time to come see me. Now, and he was like, what are we going to do? She was like, yeah.
Oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
You know what we're doing.
My man, that's what I'm doing.
Exactly. Okay. My man, my baby.
Daniel.
Ice wins.
Storm. Okay, all the things that Jackson, you identified earlier, I think is probably why I disagree with you too. This is my least favorite episode of the batch. Really. But I think it's because I don't go up really as much for Age of Apocalypse, to be honest. When it goes to this dark, desolate future, I'm just like, where's the fashion? Where I want to see fashion. I want to see style. I want to see something. And it gets a bit robotic, mechanical man for me. It's boy comics, which is fine. I like them. But sometimes it's a bit too boy comics for me. But I did find myself throughout the journey of these episodes becoming more and more interested. Yeah, but this still ranks to me as one of the weakest ones. Do you like Age of Apocalypse, Ashley? Actually, I didn't ask that. Then why is this working for you?
Honestly, just because it was boy because it was boy comics. It was just like feats, basically.
Feats? Sorry.
No, it was feats. It was, you want to see something cool? Forge builds a time machine. Dives through a thing. Shoots up 6 robots. Who's there? Wolverine. Stab people in the head. Wow, look, a sun flare. Spaceship. Up. Fly. Everybody's moving fast.
That is, though, the thing about the show. And we've not said this already, but we had the pleasure of having a few of the storyboard artists last season. And I know Marvin Britt is on the boards on this one again, and they are really slaying it. The show will always rely on it for giving us a stunning action sequence or giving us the moments. I would never give that a demerit. That's always A+. So let's just get that out of the way right now.
Episode 1 was where Cyclops did the little like strafe thing.
Yeah, he did.
The thing in it. They knew they ate that on season 1.
Yeah.
Mobility with the things. Even I was like, that's a good thing. And he was doing his little skate. It was good for like action bits, plot strung together, cool action sequences a little bit. But I thought that's exactly what you need for an episode 1. Hook them in.
I'm a big proponent for making sure to keep like big, stupid, silly stuff in Marvel stories. I think that's part of what makes them work. A great example of this is the Apocalypse's face on the train. Like, the train has an Apocalypse face. That's openly silly. Like, actively, deeply silly. At some point, Apocalypse either had to say, all the trains must look like me, or some architect had to be super fucking afraid of getting approval to turn and be like, hey, so you gotta make all the trains look like the boss. Otherwise, he's not going to like the train. But I think that for all of the goofy, big, as you say, the feats, I'm also into feats. All the big, gotcha.
They're gonna cut that.
I will. We're going to feature that. This is going to be the trailer, just so you know, Jackson.
Please call the episode I Have a Thing for Feats. For all the ways that I think they do really lean in on that, I think the reason this episode works for me, and again, this is, I think I talked about this a lot, probably the last time Ash and I talked as well. The way my brain works and the way that story really works for me is that I can watch a lot of big, goofy, crazy, fun stuff and have a blast with it, but only if you anchor it in something very real and something very honest and very emotional. And I've never been a big fan, personally, of Cable or anything to do with Cable. I don't like Cable very much. He is not a character that works very well for me. So when this show managed to take silly little young Cable who just wants to play baseball and doesn't understand how a sick kid is going to grow up and fight Apocalypse. The fact that they managed to take that and attach it to a pretty good moment for Jean and Starling about maybe we're just going to fuck up all of history so that we don't need to feel guilty. I actually found their reckoning with that pretty strong. Like every time the episode had to go back to just those 3 in a room talking about feelings, it could feel as emotionally honest as X-Men 97 is ever gonna. And would feel really like down to earth so that you could go between something very earnest and emotional. I'm always going to be proud of my son. And this train looks like Apocalypse. And as a result, it all feels emotionally solid and of a piece. I think that's what made it work for me. It's like for all of the big goofy stuff, there actually is like a really nice emotional story about Cable going on strung between this episode and the next one. I liked what they did. In fact, I missed it once I got to episode 3 and 4, which was a surprise to me. I was like, oh, I miss Nathan. You've gotten me to care about this big brick of a guy.
Oh, okay. So I loved what you said there because I also cannot stand Cable.
Yeah, he's not my favorite.
Cable is a recession indicator.
Oh, okay.
Say more.
When shit goes bad at Marvel, Cable starts being everywhere. Right? When their books aren't selling, when they don't know what to do, when the checks aren't coming in, people start having to eat meal deals. Suddenly, he's front and center. And he got that big, ugly tattoo on his face in the front. And then if somebody says strife, I'm out.
That I won't tell you my predictions at the end of this episode for what I think this is leading all to.
Strife is a creative low point of X-Men comics overall.
But you know what? On the Cable front, I do hope that they do bring Kid Cable. I do like that.
Yes. Kid Cable in the comics, in the Krakoan era, every panel with Kid Cable is so much more interesting than Cable. I think Cable takes all the worst parts of Wolverine without any of the interesting bits. Cable is all of Wolverine's gruffness, stoic stoicness, repressedness, and he just becomes this quite boring, like he's dull.
Yeah.
He's
He
just
absolutely is.
dull.
But I think for whatever it's worth, that little fade between young Cable and old Cable at the very end of episode 2, to me is like, that's the most interesting that character's ever been. Like, I was like, oh, there's a scared little sad kid in here. I like that. That's my kind of shit. I'm always into, that was my Kang the Conqueror, right? Can I show you a big, bad, scary guy? And then can I show you that he's actually a scared little kid inside? And I was like, I like that they did that for Cable at the very end of the X Factor episode.
Yes.
Okay, gang. Ashley, out of a rating of 97, what would you give this episode 1?
85.
85. Tell me briefly why.
Good action bits, great start to a season. I think this is when being fast-paced worked for it. That pace kept me really involved, invested, and I ended it wanting to watch the next ones, which is perfect. So
okay,
85, maybe even 89.
Jackson, can you please give me your rating out of a scale of 97?
Look, I'm going to sound like a broken record now, but I literally had 85 in the pocket.
Tell me why.
It was ready to go. I think they have really well balanced emotional stakes and big global goofy apocalypse stakes to create a story that I could actually follow and which told me something about a character that I normally don't very much, that made me like that character. I think the only place where I wish they could have spent more time with their characters and a little bit less time with all the big goofy stuff, which is the reason this doesn't crack a 90 for me. But that's because I'm always going to want a show to operate quieter than a show wants to. That's just how I work.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think on my end, and I already said I'm the outlier amongst you all, but I will give it 75. I'm really glad that this came with 2 other episodes behind it, but I think it just didn't grab me. It just didn't grab me completely. I had to wait for the second episode, which I'm going to defer us now to moving to episode 2, because we have just spent 40 minutes talking about episode 1 and not talked about any of the other episodes at all. So, Jackson, give us a very quick recap.
X-Factor's here. X-Force is here. We're doing post-X-Men, X-Men. Cable recruits Jubilee and Sunspot into X-Force, which is one of the weirdest recruitment ideas I've ever seen in my life. They go up against a pretty pitch-perfect version of X-Factor, except that X-Factor isn't playing the con. They just seem to be actual government stooges. So it's a little bit closer to the Mark Russell X-Factor than it is to the actual OG original, hey, I'm actually playing a shell game with the government X-Factor, unless that's a reveal they're waiting to play. And the two of them go up against each other over whether or not it's cool to kill Apocalypse's horsemen. Which I think we can all safely say it's okay to kill Apocalypse's horsemen. And Psylocke is a hero for not hearing anybody out.
Yes.
At the end of the episode, Jubilee learns the benefits of being a radical.
Eat the rich!
Throwing middle fingers up at authority, and effectively double flips the bird on them while jumping off of an airplane or jumping off a building, which makes me very happy. And then we get a little look at how much poor Nathan Summers is still haunted by the events of his past.
I will say, Jackson, you missed the most important part of the episode, where all of a sudden, in the middle of the episode, everything stops, and Jubilee has a realization. Wait, diamonds in this horse's mind. It must mean one thing. There's a beautiful goddess I once ran into. This beautiful woman. She's evil, but I like her. Something about her. It feels like she has a big future amongst us. And we flashback. I'm just trying to piss off Ashley. For the Whiteys.
I could not believe that was like the easiest possible solution. Like, I saw diamonds. Okay.
It's amazing. It's so stupid. And then for some reason they go to G.A.Y. in London, and Emma Frost is there. She leads them to try and figure out what the thing that was in this horseman's mind before they killed him is. And that is how Jubilee gets captured, because Emma Frost sells her out to X Factor for amnesty, because she knows a bad bitch cannot be a bad bitch if she's alone. If you want the future to be secured, you got to take care of yourself first. Then look after other people. So that was the recap.
But see, the thing about Emma Frost, and this is where my time in the X Office is showing, but like, it's for the children, man. And like, I really have a hard time with, I'm going to sell out this kid to the government, and the government's going to put this kid into a cage with a bunch of other kids, and I'm going to be cool with that. I hope that they are leading to a point in which Emma can look at that and find her way to the other side of that, because to me, that's the redeeming factor of Emma Frost. Without that redeeming factor, she is nothing but a white queen. If you want to play that character as Emma Frost, if you want to play her as the sort of like border hero, villain, anti-hero that I think the X-Men comics have really thrived in making her, she has to have that part of herself that is uncompromising about the safety and security of mutant children. Because to me, that's where I get on board with that character. And I did find it disappointing that this version of her had not yet learned that lesson. I'm hopeful that she will.
Yeah, no, I agree. How do you feel about that, Ashley, before I interject? Oh, he's getting up.
Ashley's that's how
Ashley's protesting. That's how pissed off he is. He said, enough is enough. Not my Emma. And I agree with you. A new Whitey has entered the villa. How do you feel about the Emma Frost, actually, since we're on the topic? Because this was a big discourse online.
She feels like a plot point more than a character to me. There needed to be a way that Jubilee ended up in the X Factor helicarrier.
Yeah.
Who might do this? Who's in the sphere? Who might do this? This is what I mean by that abridged thing, because are there more natural people that might do something like that? Yes. But do they have a cast of fan favorite characters that they want to make sure get screen time? So it feels like some people are going to be shapes they're not usually, just so Emma Frost can get a couple moments. And I can see that they just, you know that bit where she crosses her legs and goes diamond and the thing is about
and she's yawning.
Yeah, and I was like, is that what you did it for? And so I totally understand people's position on it. But then also a lot of this is patchwork. Do you know what I mean? It's making stuff fit. And so some people are going to have to bend into shapes they weren't naturally to make some of that stuff connect. And I think she was one of the carriaways of that.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. The White Queen, like Jackson, you were saying, herself doesn't really compel me that much. I need that extra layering. I do also agree with both of you. She's not really a character right now. She's a meme. She pops up because people like her and she's identifiable and she'll be the bitchy drag queen that's in the room, and that's fine. But it is a simplification of Emma that I find it's just not as interesting as what you could do with this character. Like you said, Jackson, if that maintained that core of the fact that she is for the children and that's always there and that always has been there, then I think that would be a lot more interesting. At the same time, I do want to keep in hand the idea that she started out as a villain, so we can see her as a villain. This could be her cocaine years where she's just doing whatever. She's burning up horses, and that's fine. But the only way I'll be fine with that is if we see a bit of an arc for her this season.
Classic Emma Frost shit, man.
I'm saying Butterworm had it coming, to be fair, by the way. I'm fully on her side for that one.
But I do agree. I think I'm not trying to like over knock the show because I think that's not the era she's in, right? You're quite correct. I am hopeful that means that they can take her there. And maybe that's just my love for Grant Morrison's runs pretty deep. It was in large part my reintroduction to the X-Men. And so I always look at that as I'm that weird guy. It took me a long time to be comfortable with not Cat Beast. Cat Beast was my beast. And then I learned like he was supposed to look different and I had to come around.
He's straight?
Yeah. I was also shocked to discover that Beast was straight. So there's a really interesting encounter with Emma, which is that I really came in on her as a hero. So whenever I go backwards and look at her as this much like more arch character, I have to assume that somewhere deep in there is still that person, right? Like I think that lesson is still somewhere in there, and I wish that we'd just been able to indicate that a little bit. But again, I hope they get there. I think knowing how smart this show can be sometimes about stepping out its characters, maybe this is a setup for an ultimate payoff, and I'm excited to see if they can manage it.
The White Queen welcomes you to die.
Emma Frost.
I will say, though, the thing that took me out of this episode wasn't even Emma Frost. It was right at the start when I saw Quentin Quire running around with the Generation X kids. I was just like, wait a minute, what is happening? Why are you here?
They had to get him in. You know when they went through the prison and Dust is there, Sink is there,
Anol's there.
That was just cameo. That was just also Everett. Sink looks so young and is bald, and I was like, damn, teenage bald and in prison. That's crazy.
There goes your credit. Sorry, Sink.
I was like, down bad. And the worst is that I get the whole cameo thing. This is the sad thing about doing like a 97 show. When we panned through that prison, there were so many people that I was like, they're going to let them out. They're going to be part of the show. And then they weren't. And then we have to go back and listen to Beast, who like walks like Annalise Keating. And it is annoying. He is. And he's just always next to Nightcrawler, who just is doing exactly what he's doing and better. I'm like, why are you not embarrassed? You two come to work in the same dress every day and he's eating you up.
But let's get into X-Force, though. How did you guys feel about seeing X-Force depicted on screen?
I'm going to say something.
Say it.
X-Force kind of bores me a little bit. X-Force kind of bores me a little bit. X-Force bores me a little bit.
Oh, she's going on. She's singing. Okay, say why.
Fine. It's fucking boring. The only X-Men team that has not been boring was the one that had Warpath on it.
Oh, wow. The Clayton Crane years.
Yes.
Every time X-Force steps into a room, everybody explodes in viscera years. Yeah.
I got it. Like, I was like, oh, wow. Okay, no, you're really doing the stuff no one else wants to do. But I think X-Force can only exist in a way that feels meaningful in a non-children's cartoon. It's inherently not a book that I think, or a team that I think can exist meaningfully in a medium like this.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because they just feel like another team that does what all the other teams are doing.
But we saw them kill this episode, which is something that we've not really seen very often amongst the X-Men. Or at least that's part of the narrative of the Xavier's dream.
But that's the distinction, right? Is that's just how it ends. The actual operation, the way that they conduct the operation to get war, isn't very much different than the way that the X-Men would conduct a similar operation.
Right.
I felt like if that's your Black Ops team, I don't know if you can do that in a cartoon that has like a PG-13 rating, because then the two teams don't really feel meaningfully different. And so for me, I went into it, when they said X-Force, I just felt like it was like Lemon and Herb at X-Force.
I think about last season where there was that moment where we saw Rogue leave and join Magneto's acolytes. And I remember finding that really excited, the idea, especially because that happened after she killed that man. And then there was that whole narrative going on around it. But that's a problem I don't want to claim just yet. I want to see where it goes before I decide that, because in the world of this show, I like the existence of three different polarities. Sorry for the pun. The X Factor is there as the mutant cops that are government sponsored. And then we have these X-Men who are trying to figure out a middle path. And then, like you're saying, Ashley, they might not end up being able to do this, but I like the idea of there's more, quote unquote, an extremist group. If they all exist in opposition to each other, when all the X-Men are back in this world, I would find that interesting. But I think part of the thing that we're saying, and we have said before, is that there's this truncation that's happening that I don't know how much space that's going to actually get to play out.
I don't think it's a failing of the writing or the show. I think it's a limitation of the medium and the platform. I don't think you can do X-Force justice in this. Like, to me, even Apocalypse didn't get to where X-Force was. The person who you're saying is the crazy, evil, irredeemable villain that can never be brought back has done exactly the same thing that Psylocke did at this point, has done exactly the same thing that Rogue did. So it felt like it was different narratives for very similar actions. That's because there's only so far you can go in a show like this.
I think it's actually a really good example of, I think it wouldn't fit to go too hard. If you went after like the Remender Clayton Crane vibe for this character, which I agree with you, that's actually the most X Factor that's ever worked for me as well. I was reading that when it popped, and in retrospect, it's very dark and very grim, but at least it feels fundamentally distinct from the rest of the X-Men stuff. The thing that I thought really puts the truth to that inability to square that circle within the medium, in that hilarious table scene where they're having a normal dinner at the arcade and Cable is the size of 7 people.
That was really funny, actually. Thank you for shouting that out. That was really funny.
I watched it with Colin and he legitimately fell out of his chair. But no, for me, it was that in that scene, he says, we're going to be different. We're going to do things differently. There's no room for heroics. That's not what we are. And then they cut to the credit sequence and Sunspot is in a domino mask. And you're like, no one ever comments on it. At no point does anybody go, Bobby, you got the wrong idea here. This isn't a superhero suit. This is a Black Ops team. It's like everybody's just, that's Bobby's costume. He looks like a superhero. He might as well be wearing a Superman cape. Like, that, to me, that's the weird distinction, is it's like they're playing X Factor, but they're playing it still for the childhood fantasy of being a rebel, not for the, I think, more X Factory fantasy of going to go up against the Punisher fantasy, right? Yeah. They're not going to play the Punisher fantasy here. And ultimately, again, I like that it leads to a rebellish kind of Antifa, punch the cops and break out the framework for an X-Men team. I always think the X-Men are best in that vein, but X Factor is not one to do it with, and I'm not necessarily sure that like Psylocke or Archangel were adding much to that.
100%, and it's very prescient right now that you've got 3 that claim to be doing something revolutionary and disruptive and not. And I think if I was writing it, I would have had somebody other than Psylocke make the killing blow, because I also think it was a bit of a cop-out to have the only assassin on the team do the killing, and it might have felt qualitatively different to me if other people were doing that. Oh, so the killer's killed. It's not us, it's not the team. It's Psylocke, and likes to kill a little.
Sorry to interrupt. It wasn't Quanon. It was Angel. Angel killed him.
I thought, she read his mind.
Yeah. She read his mind. Angel killed him. How does that alter your argument, though?
Erase everything that I said for the last 2 minutes, thanks.
I don't think it alters it that differently, actually, what you were saying, because Angel is like Apocalypse's tool, so it extends it to Apocalypse instead of extending it to Psylocke, who's an assassin. He's just as much as an assassin. He's just now you can blame it on Apocalypse now.
Yeah, if I wanted the team to do it, it was less surprising. Do you know what I mean? I felt like X-Force wasn't all the way there. And then the big thing that was meant to be like, this is a different team, happened from the quite expected people. And it didn't, I would a little bit more kick, I think. Even if not like more gratuitous, just more surprising in who's doing it.
X-Men! I have two last questions to ask you two about this episode. What did you feel about X Factor? We talked about X-Force. How about X Factor?
So that was going to be my big jump in on this. Like, I am a really big fan of early X Factor as a premise. I've always thought that was such a great premise. And it's such an interesting way of approaching the X-Men, which is to say we're going to engage with respectability politics, and then we're going to trick you into creating an underground railroad for mutants. And I think like that, to me, it plays so many of the X-Men metaphors like right at a certain level and forces these characters to do something that feels fundamentally unique. And obviously, this is a different team. That original X-Factor is sort of a reskinned version of X-Men. This is, as Jubilee calls Havoc, budget Cyclops or whatever, right? They're doing the budget version of it here. But I always thought the interesting thing about X-Factor is that double play. And here, outside of Lorna, I don't think we really get the argument. I don't think we ever get a proper argument for like, why would any mutant do this? Why would any mutant, after Genosha, Asteroid M, after all the things that they went through, given the sheer amount of hatred that is going on towards mutants and sheer amount of oppression, why would they get into the position of putting kids in cages? And I don't think they really make that argument. I think they get a little bit close with Lorna and ultimately forgive her by Lorna just almost immediately turning turncoat on them. I wish we got a good argument for it out of Havoc, or a good argument for it out of Madrox, or a good argument for it out of whoever's going to tell us.
I want to know why Val Cooper's doing it. Last season she was Magneto is right, and all of a sudden you're leading this team? I think that's interesting.
Exactly. And so I am wondering whether or not that's a cage, like whether or not they are doing the shell game and they're just holding it later. And then maybe I'll eat my words a little bit later. But I've never much loved when X Factor just plays the government game, because I have a really hard time imagining how those people go to sleep at night.
But to add another thought to that, X Factor is made up of fucking dicks. And just, how about you just call me Alex? Fucking dickhead. Strong guy, fabled bigot.
Not thinking things through.
A mutant bigot. Wolfsbane, fucking a students.
Yeah, and deeply just trauma repressed.
Like, do you know what? I can't blame you for your trauma. I can't blame you for the things that happened.
Sure, that doesn't make you a dick. I get you. I get you.
Dick. Sleeping with your students. Yeah. So they're all quite, and then what's it? Multiple Madrox. What's his fucking name?
Yeah, Madrox. Multiple men.
I don't know. Just like a dick.
See, I always thought, and maybe this is just because I love the Peter David X Factor era, but like I really love Madrox. I like the sort of messy, I'm trying to be a good guy, but no matter how many versions of myself I make, I'm never as impressive or interesting as I want to be. I like that. That's an interesting character. There's something really cool to that. And if you wanted to tell me why any of these guys would side with the government, I'd be down. I just think they don't make the argument. They just literally have them drop in and say, we're definitely the good guys, which is the way you know you're not, right?
I wish it was more of a Freedom Force thing. Let's kind of Suicide Squad it a little bit. Let's have a reason. I did want to note the fact that I noticed that none of you had a thing to say about Lorna, and good. Y'all stay quiet about my girl.
Exactly.
She sat there. She looks gorgeous. Her hair was curly. She was moving.
She does look great. She does look great.
She looks great.
Every criticism that we have, nothing found her. Nothing's going to stick. Nothing's going to stick. Nothing's going to stick.
House of Magnus, baby.
She walks straight through this episode and isn't touched by a single piece of that.
Lorna, you did nothing wrong. God bless you.
Yo, you can get with this or you can die alone. It's up to you.
Then the final thing I wanted to ask you two about is we said nothing about Jubilee so far, really.
Also,
and this
is Havoc. Fuck Havoc.
Yes, fuck Havoc. But that's like standard. We always knew that. But yes, you've said nothing to me so far about Jubilee, so I'd like to give you the space. Talk to me about this moment. This is Jubilee's, I think, breakout moment, really, in the whole series so far. What did we think? Who wants to start us off?
Boost them bitches where y'all at. Get in your bag. Pop it. Spin that shit. Spin that shit. Spin that shit. She did.
So you liked it?
She really did. Look, when she put those headphones in, I said, it's about to get real. I said, you bitches came into this corridor thinking it was going to be sweet. Ain't shit sweet. Ain't shit sweet. This is the same girl who brushed Bastion's teeth. Are you insane?
She said, y'all must not know about me. Y'all must not know about me. What you've heard, I've changed, okay? I've changed.
Everybody in this corridor makes $4 an hour, and I'm about to show you it's not worth it.
Who the fuck want beef? Who the fuck want beef?
Yes. The minimum wage is not worth this ass beating you're about to get.
Absolutely not. I was so happy to see her not just like shine action style, but shine like ideologically. I think X-Men is so much of the time about the slow process of how you can be taught radicalization, but it doesn't actually stick until you experience it. And this really felt like her experiencing it. This felt like the first time that she was really in a position of having to look around her and be like, I'm just another kid in a cage, put here by other mutants. No one here deserves my respect. No one here deserves my grace. I will run roughshod of all of them. And what I think is great about that is that what is Jubilee but teenage fantasy walking? She's burn it down, spray paint it, kick flip off of it, fucking 90s version of being a teenager. The idea is like, I'm going to put in these headphones, I'm going to listen to some Riot Girl, and I'm going to smash all of you. And then get to that point at the end where they're like, so you can either jump off building to nothingness or you can come back to jail. And she's like, fuck you, I jump. You're right. That is
no plan.
Huge character moment for her.
It was
With
great.
no plan. I thought she was going to grab one of the parachutes. She was like, no.
Also, here's the thing. We saw her whole training experience and sequence in that intro. The X-Force taught her that in 3 months.
He went into the video game, and video game her taught her how to do the Rasengan. And since then, she was like, listen, you bitches will never be able to compete where you don't compare. You hear me?
I just think we need to check the Xavier Institute accreditation, because what are you teaching this girl? Who's teaching in the staff? What are we doing with her?
Don't worry about that.
Storm had classes, but then Forge showed up.
Daniel?
All her classes canceled.
Daniel?
Gave her those inline rollerblades, and she started disrespecting everybody at their work. She's going to, if I'm staying there, I've just done an 8-hour shift, and then you go past me in rollerblades. Be taking the piss.
Here's what I want to know. I want to know if the Stepford Cuckoos thought that was cool or lame. Because they're like, you did free us, and you did do a really cool thing. But on the flip side, you did it on rollerblades while dressing like a clown.
I think she tried too hard. She tried too hard for them.
That's the thing. I feel like secretly, it's like Sophie knows that it's really cool and wants to be like to everybody else, oh, this was dope. But every other cuckoo is like, try hard. And just,
No, they say they're like, that's so gauche.
Exactly.
And then you just know Monet is just there. She'll like sign in telepathy, be like, I'm glad she jumped, actually. I'm glad she did. I don't know. No telepath likes Jubilee for some reason. I don't know what's going on in there, but I don't want to find out. Can you two please give me your ratings for this episode out of a scale of 97? Let us start this time with Jackson.
Look, I really enjoyed Jubilee in this episode. I really do not love the characterization of either X Factor or X-Force, so I think I'm like a 7.
Serious?
7 out of 97.
70. 7. No, 70. 70.
Okay.
70.
Ashley Alleyne, give me a rating quickly.
Around 70.
Jackson, you better text Colin today and be like, just so you know, there's another Hivemind happening right now.
Yeah.
Ashley, give me why you are giving this episode a 70. Tell me why.
I'm giving this episode a 70 because I think it was the weakest one for me. This was the episode that I lost focus in and had to try to watch 2 times. The first one, I went all the way through. This one, I got up and did something else and lost where I was in it and had to restart it a few times.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I fully disagree with you too. I'm giving this one an 87. I did give it probably an extra 20 points just because Emma's there. I'm going to have to do it. It's just going to have to happen. And I did like the action in this episode. I think it grabbed me a lot more, specifically like the Psylocke sequences. I thought were like really pretty to look out. And yeah, I think it like carried a lot more weight for me. But let us move on now. Last episode, Rise of Apocalypse Part 1. Jackson.
Where we fell in love, do you remember the time? He had hair, he had muscles, tits out, weave long, sword high. The baddie back in the day.
He said hair long, skinny waist, thick thighs,
big blue lips. And I love that he's like big blue lips. He's just cursed. His visible mutantum is just the biggest blue lips you ever saw.
Surround sound.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what happened in 3? We said that Forge went to the distant future and Bishop goes to the distant past, but we don't follow Bishop. We just pop back into the distant past and really follow Xavier and Magneto, primarily really Magneto, as Magnus deals with what it means to try and shape young En Sabah Nur, who they know is going to become Apocalypse, into something other than Apocalypse. And Magneto, in the aftermath of everything that's gone on with Genosha and Asteroid M, seems to have come to the conclusion that he's going to be able to do that by mercy and understanding, because as he puts it, only a coward feels brave stepping on ants. And moreover, I think he has another line that honestly felt very un-Magnus to me, but I'm interested in your perspective, which is that he says, we have to curb our worst impulses if we're ever to save humanity from themselves. Showed a lot of concern for humanity for Matt.
He's such a hypocrite. He's been balling up people in cars since 71.
Yeah, the exact opposite of everything he stands for. So he decides he's going to make sure that they don't allow Apocalypse to kill his enslavers. This is all made a little bit more complicated by the fact that they're not fighting just any pharaoh taking over all of ancient Egypt at this time. No, they're fighting Ramatut, otherwise known as Nathaniel Richards, otherwise known as Victor Timely, otherwise known as Kang the Conqueror. And Kang is running the show here. He's got his robot troops, he's got his slaves, he's got a whole celestial Death Star situation going on that he can use whenever he wants. And they're going to try to really put the screws in on him. But turns out that Apocalypse's mentor, Ball, played by the inimitable Michael Dorn, Worf forever, thank you very much, is bloodthirsty and just wants En Sabah Nur to get to the killing. And all of this dragging of Magneto's feet leads to an enormous amount of death and destruction, and leads to the very kind of distrust and disorder that will soon birth Apocalypse. And I think that's the end of episode 1. I'm not sure, or I can't exactly recall where they draw the issue, the episode line. I watched them together. Oh, and the X-Men are collecting. That's the other thing. The X-Men are playing a shell game on Apocalypse, which again, maybe more their fault than anybody. Another thing they needed to be doing, where they're like pretending that they're just helping him out, but actually they're stealing all the robotics to build their time machine.
Do not get me into these raggedy, bow-legged, wooden-necked bitches. X-Men! Do not get me into it, right?
No, Ashley, this is your moment. This is your moment.
They built Apocalypse brick by brick. If I am in the midst of fighting for my freedom in slavery, and you send back 4 white American men to lecture me, if Magneto looked in the face of Harriet Tubman and said, calm down a little bit, I'll tear this TV.
Not the tubs.
I'll tear this TV off the wall. Do you hear me? Actually, people are disrespecting. You're disrespecting yourself. I need everybody to respect themselves here in this place today. Because what the fuck are you talking about? So firstly, let me just tell you the stupidity of this plan. And there are people on the internet who are very stupid. And if you're listening and you hold a stupid opinion, then this is unfortunately for you. And listen, because how do you go back, meet a slave who is fighting for his agency and go, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to trick him into becoming who we want.
The whole time?
That's what I think we should do. I think we should rob this man of his agency.
My bit was the absolute gall of Magneto to tell this man to not kill a slaver and to hold the scythe back. That was insane to me. I was like, what is happening?
God, from this one you have yanked out fillings, pacemakers, Prince Alberts. You've put people's grandmother in the Half Nelson. I don't want to hear shit from you.
You took Wolverine's entire skeleton out.
Bones!
Do you know when you devein a shrimp?
He said, I'm just cleaning it out. There's something fishy in this.
For all the Wolverine poop is, you got to get rid of that. I don't know if I missed something or... It really does feel like they took that character down a path that had not been like properly set for him to take. And maybe I need to go back and watch the Asteroid M episodes again, because maybe he really learned a stronger lesson of nonviolence than I remember. But this really did feel like he's coming in, and of all people, Magneto is the one who's making the real violence argument and the like really hard moral argument. And that did surprise me. That didn't feel very much like in his character. So I am wondering if I missed something along the way, or I'm curious what the intention was from them, because from moment one, you sense the trap. Sort of what you were saying about like somebody needs to do something for the plot to happen.
Yeah.
This really felt like he is doing this because we know that we need to birth Apocalypse. So we need to have somebody who's giving him the alternate move. And if it's Xavier the whole time, it's just going to feel expected.
Yeah.
We'll do it with Magneto, so it'll be unexpected.
And also, I think Magneto is like, quote unquote, a villain. So if he creates a villain, it feels like that is somewhat more excusable in a way, where like I feel like that's something they don't want to put on Xavier's hands too much. The fact that like it's coming from Magneto really feels jarring, especially because I could see them coming from Xavier. So I just wonder why they just didn't do that, make that choice. Because he's always portrayed as this like fatherly figure. I like him being stank towards like that energy. Yeah, that rings true as Xavier for me, but yeah, I don't know. Ashley, what do you think?
Girl, shut shut up. Shut up. Shut
Wait a
up.
minute. Excuse me. Slavery?
Not you, Xavier. You said I like Xavier being stank, and every time he came on the screen, I went, shut up.
But it makes sense. That's so Xavier to me. It's just like superiority.
Okay, here we go. Absolutely. My thing is, and you can listen, tell me if, because I've been thinking about this, and I could be totally wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and I would love you lot. If you reckon I'm wrong, pump the brakes. Let me know. Okay. But I think Xavier's message of coexistence, tolerance, taking the blows to the back of your head works better for me with bigotry. I think it seems insufficient in the face of active genocide. So the times when they blow up the school, Xavier's dream and mission feels a bit shaky because it feels silly. It feels like martyrdom rather than principle. And then it feels like you're willing to sacrifice mutant lives to appease human hatred. But it seems most insufficient when you're dealing with actual literal slavery. Actual literal slavery is when, hey, what about their feelings though? Let's not be as bad as them. It felt like it's at its thinnest. I just felt like it was a massive contradiction and condemnation of everybody's at core things. And at first, I went through three arcs of this. I watched it and I went, that's fucking stupid. They're lecturing and condescending to a literal freed slave. And this is just entitlement and stupidness. But then I was like, oh no, that's the point, isn't it? This is a causality thing. The fact that they think apocalypse is going to become apocalypse is the thing that makes apocalypse. They're lecturing, they're condescendent, the way they lie and manipulate him, the way that they use him to get back to the future. All of that is meant to be the betrayal that causes him to go, you lot were trying to own me. They're trying to own me. I'm going to do the only thing that is left that I can choose. And that felt meaningful. And so the story wants us, I think, to understand Apocalypse's conversion, or at least that's what I walked away.
No, I agree with you by and large. What I'm curious about is what Ball brings to that equation. Because I think they spend enough time giving him this additional mentor figure. The whole thing seems to be reinforcing Apocalypse's core drive, which is I want my revenge. I want my feeling of superiority. I want to feel not alone. And the only way that I'm going to do that is through my own manner of revenge and violence and eventual genocide. Yeah. And I don't love that all of Apocalypse's ideas come from other men. That none of this is self-generated up until the last moment. And then his actual ascension to Apocalypse, also from another man. It's a billion-year-old man named Arishem, but he's getting that from the Celestial too. Everything that's handed to Apocalypse is handed to him from somebody else on expectation. Yeah. So we never really get a great idea of what is the thing that's actually driving En Sabah Nur, which again, I think maybe that's weird that I really feel like they nailed it with Nathan in the first episode where I felt like I kind of knew this kid. It's baseline, but I get it. Yeah. Whereas with En Sabah Nur, I kind of felt like he'd been raised towards violence by Ball. He was tempered against violence by Magneto and Xavier, eventually chose Ball's way. And so if it is supposed to be a causality loop, if it is supposed to be something that we can really understand, Ball feels to me like too much of a starting point. Without him, I don't know. I feel like maybe the story in the causality loop works a little bit better. Is that the writer in me feeling like I'm just not sure what that guy's doing there?
Go on, Ashley.
I like what you said there, and I agree. A lot of what happens to Apocalypse is dictated and guided and pushed by other forces. And then to me, it feels like his choice to become Apocalypse was the first decision he made for himself. That was the first agency bit. I'm doing this. Nobody's telling me I'm doing this. I don't care what it costs. And then we hear other lines where he goes, I will always be. And is survival your main thing? Were you always trying to survive? And then you saw an option to be powerful, to never be subject to the whims of other people, whether it be the slaver, whether it be Ball, whether it be Magneto, whether it be Xavier.
Top of the food chain.
Exactly. And Jackson, I think you made a great point where you're like, he seems to be getting his motivations from loads of other people. And that's the point where he goes, nope. And I'm just going to jump us quickly into a little bit. When he picks up Professor Xavier in episode 4 and goes, you wanted to shape me into one of your X-Men. And I couldn't hear that as separate from you wanted to conscript me to your end. Even now, I thought we were community. I thought we were friends. I thought we were in the same struggle, but you didn't. You're just another person who wanted to own, direct, shape, and make me like everyone else. And I do that for myself now.
Really good point.
This is a question for both of you. Do you think that within the logic of what we've seen so far, it is arguing that Nur becoming Apocalypse is inevitable?
No,
I don't think it's inevitable at all. Okay. I think it's a direct result of the X-Men.
I agree with you based on what we've seen, but I don't think the show believes that. I feel like the show is presenting an argument where, oh, he was a bad guy. When you're talking about the causal loop of it all, that this idea that this is always going to happen is what's playing in my mind. When you were speaking about these ideas of like where his motivation is coming from, what I kept going back to is what I said early on in this episode, which is I've always been resistant to Age of Apocalypse and Apocalypse in general until really the Krakoan era, when they added the layer of Genesis and Arakko, because I feel like that finally gave him a motivation that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
And the reason I resist Apocalypse in general is because I don't understand his argument really as it's presented. And even in the show, I find it's that same problem that I used to have. It doesn't feel like he's motivated truly by anything aside from destruction because he's a cosmic force or whatever. Yeah, sure, that's fine. But I don't think it's as interesting a story as what ends up developing. In terms of the question of determinism and fatalism, I think what it comes down to, whatever the show is attempting to do with those themes, I don't think it's doing it very successfully, because what has ended up being presented as something that I think is actually like we're edging towards, because that's a later episode, we see that confirmed. It gets very problematic. Like I said, ultimately what we end up seeing in front of us is these two white men telling this black man that he should be nonviolent towards a slaver. And that's fucked up. And it feels like the show wants us to agree with them. The show is not presenting a counter argument as to why that's fucked up. Instead, they're bringing in Bishop as the blackface, further affirmance the fact that no, this is a man who is operating outside of us, outside of our interests. That plus onto it, the line that you mentioned earlier, Jackson, but that really stuck in my head was that one, that as mutants, we must resist our darker impulses for humanity's sake. Why is that my responsibility? It's that same question, like the responsibility you place on the victim for reacting to their victimhood, to reacting to their experience, for reacting in a way that does make sense. That is my issue with this episode. What do you think?
Here, I'd like to clarify. I'd like to draw a really clear distinction between Apocalypse and En Sabah Nur. And they fall into this causal loop and they hold it unironically. And they go, oh, because he might become Apocalypse, whatever savagery is done to him in the past is justified. And actually, I think that's the distortion. So do I think Apocalypse, contemporary Apocalypse, is evil and irredeemable? Yes. Do I think En Sabah Nur, the mutant that they met, who has been isolated and enslaved and is taking his first steps towards agency and is very actually open to conversations about how that ideology should be shaped? There's 2 times that I remember in the series where he could have been violent and he takes a step back. And I think actually the failing there is of the X-Men not being able to see the person that was in front of them. I have a mutant here who is teetering on the edges of 2 ideologies. And actually that was the time to sit and trust in Sabah Nur and go, look, we're from the future. We know what the fuck happens. We can see what's happening here and we are with you. When we say that we're community, when we say that we share your aims, we show you that by being honest and open with you and giving you the power to choose. And they didn't do that. And I think that's why, for me, I struggle with casting him as a villain, because effectively it's like this African man couldn't get over slavery sufficiently for us. And I'm like, but that, and people justify that by going, yeah, but he's a thing later. And I'm like, yeah, but that hasn't happened yet. But let's talk about Nur as he is.
The thing that makes the argument really hard for me is that we see openly in the beginning of this episode an Apocalypse who is, or sorry, an En Sabah Nur who is, because I agree with you, the distinction is really key. Because of the causal loop, right? It's the same distinction I make with Kang a lot. It's really interesting that they put Kang in this episode because I don't think they do much with him, but ultimately he is so instructive to the same idea. And so if they want to come back on it and use the externals to talk about that, or however they're going to get to that, great. I hope they eventually get to that, because that particular loop is really key. Kang is only Kang after fighting the opportunity to be Kang for as long as he possibly can, until he's forced by the very nature of his reality to take on that mantle. But until then, he is going to fight tooth and nail to do that, to be Nathaniel, to avoid that fate, to not be that asshole that kidnapped him as a child. He's going to do everything he can to avoid the causal loop because he's aware of it. And Sabah Nur is not aware of the causal loop. So the only thing we can look at is, what is he grasping onto? What does he want? And the thing that we see over and over again from him, what he actually wants at the beginning of this episode is he wants community. He walks into that room and the X-Men go, congratulations, Nur. And he goes, you honor me, Charles, but this victory belongs to all of us. You're all doing this together. And I think it's very interesting to me that the answer that the X-Men come to out of that conversation is, we can't tell him who we are because we risk changing the timeline. And look, again, that's the tragic mistake that Xavier makes. And that ultimately will cost him so much over the course of this episode, this bit, and probably in the future. Certainly has cost him Apocalypse throughout his life. And so I don't want to say, oh, he can't make that decision. Of course he can. That's the story's prerogative. He can make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It does strike me as a wildly wrong decision, given that you have already changed the past. En Sabah Nur is already saying, this belongs to all of us. You are sitting at his table. You are engaged with his people. Magneto is there at his battle. You are keeping his blade from cutting a guy's throat. You are changing the past. You are already doing it.
Yeah.
And theoretically towards the idea that you will stop him from becoming Apocalypse, which it seems to me that the only way that they actually fail in that regard, the place where they really mess up, is that they don't acknowledge that they have already done the very thing that they're trying not to do and start operating without responsibility, which is a very Xavier thing. I'm going to hang on to my responsibility way longer than I need to the point at which it becomes toxic and then it backfires on everybody around. That's the Xavier story. I totally get it. But I do think it's tragic in this context because I do think it does create Apocalypse pretty directly in a way that it didn't need to. There's the opportunity for a very different kind of story and maybe one that does show how Apocalypse becomes more himself. Yeah. Not as a reaction to Xavier. And,
Yeah.
Completely agree with everything you both had to say on that. But to move us along, because we are running close to the ceiling that we have for this episode, two things I just want to shout out real quick before I take us to our ratings is I call foul on the way Nur yeeted that poor elephant. That's not okay. And I take issue with it. If he did one thing wrong, it is what he did to that poor creature.
On my notes, it just says Nur bodied that elephant. Wow.
He did nothing wrong. He was a vehicle. Yeah, we can't stick on it. That is one. And number two, I just feel like
Dumbo was getting into wrong folks' business.
Poor little Dumbo. And then my second point that I wanted to make sure to get on is we just didn't really mention the fire between Ball and Apocalypse. That's a sugar daddy and a sugar baby situation if I've ever seen one. We don't want to talk about it, but acknowledge it. Oh, you take him out of the streets? Disgusting. I know what you are, and I don't like it. Ball. Anyway, I'm glad you're dead. Sorry, spoiler. With that, can you two please? We're just gonna keep moving. We're gonna move on.
Wow. I want to say, do you know when? Do you know, like Southeast Asian women will call like old fat white men who go over there LBHs?
Yeah.
Losers back home.
Yes.
Kang is an LBH.
He really is.
Kang is a passport, bro. But
I do have to. This is my other party foul on this episode. They got John Delancey, who plays Q in Star Trek: The Next Generation, playing Kang the Conqueror. They've got Worf. They've got Michael Dorn, who plays Worf on Star Trek: The Next Generation, playing Ball. Once again, they do not put them in a scene together. Immediate 10-point deduction from me on this episode. The Trekkie and me cannot abide.
As a Star Trek writer, that's well done.
Disastrous.
The way you were smiling and laughing too.
Also, shout out to Gates McFadden, who is playing Rachel Gray. Feels worth noting.
Oh my God, was that Gates? I didn't realize that.
Gates McFadden. She's Rachel Gray. Isn't it crazy?
She's one of the few members of that original cast that I've actually met. She's a really wonderful.
Oh, really?
Person.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
She must be geeking out to be in X-Men 97. That's great.
Yeah, I bet.
But okay, now to help us round off this conversation, can you two please give me for episode 3 your ratings out of a scale of 97 and just briefly why? Let us start this time with Ashley.
I will go for... I kind of want to say the same thing as Jackson again. No,
let's see. Let's test it out.
I've realized I'm not rating it. I'm just...
mine down.
I want to say 92.
92 out of 97. You won't get a reveal until like Ask Jackson. Okay, but tell me a bit why.
Because I matured like wine for me. At first I read it, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I was like, maybe it's ridiculous on purpose. I think this was the one that gave me the most to chew on mentally. And the fact that I was sitting in there really invested in like this causal loop and the development of these characters, that to me was good writing. I think this one was the most mentally rich for me.
Okay.
Good in ways that I didn't always agree with, but in some places that I did, and I think that is why I really liked it.
How about you, Jackson? What is your rating out of a scale of 97? And tell me briefly why.
I'm a 79. Our alignment is broken, Ash.
I gave it a 79. I gave it a 79.
Go.
Jackson, you have to marry us both.
Yeah.
No.
Welcome to, I want to move to London anyway. Let's go.
I'll send details on my dowry.
Appreciate you. Yeah. So here's the trick. I really like this episode, and I fully agree with Ash's reason for rating it as he did. My concern with it is there are parts of it that I simply don't buy. That I, as a viewer, just passively, I'm having a really hard time understanding character motivation for. And the Magneto thing is such a core part of this episode, especially, that I find that just hard to handle directly. Yeah. I'm also a very avowed Kang the Conqueror nerd, having written his book and having been pretty deeply invested in that character. And I feel like he's a little bit wasted on this plot. I'm not really sure why we're dealing with Kang on this plot. If we could deal with anybody, it could be anybody. And so that bums me out because I always think that character, he even has a lot to say about this particular plot. And they choose, rather than engaging with that, to give most of his scene work to the slaver. Right. And so I was like, I feel like that it misses a few opportunities to be a more prime distilled version of the thing that it's trying to do, which is a writer can frustrate me sometimes. That said, it does have a lot of really great stuff in it. So that's why I land at that second.
Yeah.
It's a very rich brew. I will be thinking about it for a while because time loops will do that, especially time loops that are as flawed as this one.
Yeah, like you're saying, it was a rich brew. I think it just left a bitter taste in my mouth afterwards a little bit, which is why I bumped it down. But okay, now to round off, thinking back of the last 3 episodes we just discussed, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You may answer them with a sentence or a small paragraph. Starting us off, Ashley, we're going to go one by one. Let's start with episode 1. Give me your winner of episode 1, season 2.
Storm.
Why?
Daniel. Solar flare. Storm only ever needs to be told once, man. Rachel said, remember you're a bad bitch. Storm said, you're right. End of episode.
Love it. Jackson, your winner.
Forge.
Say more.
Good. For exactly the same reasons. It's just Daniel.
Daniel?
And then just goes right back to sitting with him. And even when I'm not sure this is going to work, she's, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm hitting that. And it's fine.
I love that. Sure. For my end, I'm actually going to give it, and maybe this will be the only time I do it this whole season, I'm going to give it to Cable, young Cable specifically, because he got to do his little video game move with that gun. And I thought that was really cute. It was really nice to see. Moving us along. All right, call the police. I don't care. They know me. Can you, for episode 1, give me your loser of the episode? Ashley.
Cable.
Hateful. Say why.
Look, I'm all right. As condensed as I can make it. The problem with Cable is that he's an arsehole in the future. So everything about his past feels redundant. Why are you giving me all these touching moments between him and his mom and his dad and coming to these realizations? Did it help? No.
Okay, Jackson, tell me your loser of episode 1.
It's Jean. She is nothing but, she's a nonstop bad idea machine in this episode. She literally is, I can't be a mom to this kid that I'm not a mom to. I'll break all of time. Immediately gets them caught in the train with the guy's face on. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
People in hamster wheels.
Non-stop bad ideas out of that woman.
Wait, and then you put you in a little...
I think she's also the loser of the episode, and I decided that specifically when she sent Scott to be the diplomat to talk to Rachel. I was just like, that's a stupid ass bitch move. You're sending Scott? Of all of these? All right, that's dumb. That's a dumb bitch decision. Can you, Jackson, give me, and we're an accessible podcast, so we'll work with you here. Can you please give me your whitest moments of the episode?
Thank you. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. And we work together.
Slightly less of a hole this way. I appreciate it. I genuinely think it's when Nathan, we just introduced him and he's sitting there with his parents and he goes, "It's supposed to grow up to beat Cable." And I genuinely saw every Luke Skywalker style little white hero character that's ever been. Yeah. They always have that line. It's always, "I'm the little destined boy. How am I supposed to do it even though I'm all sick?" And it's just, I can't handle those characters. They bother the shit out of me. Maybe it's because I was born disabled. I got a lot of sickness in my life. I'm like, the last thing I need is being like, how am I supposed to do it? No, I can't handle it. So that was
get it together. You said, get it together.
Sir, you have been dictated by this incredibly white narrative that you are the hero. Just deal with it.
So stupid. All right, Ashley. Can you please give me...
slapping a 12-year-old in the face. Get up. Shut up.
Ashley, if you could please give me your blackest moment of episode 1, please.
Is Bishop looking at that fucking spreadsheet of all them faces? And he's going, these motherfuckers really lost, huh?
Well, damn.
Yeah,
damn.
Somebody's going to have to do something.
Guess it'll be me taking care of this bullshit again. All right. Okay, I already shouted out mine. I think my blackest moment of the episode is when Rachel took off her hood. Storm looked at her and she was just like, it's none of my business. Go with peace. I wish you luck. I have nothing to do with this. I'm just going to go do what I need to do right now. And I really appreciated that. All right, now, final question on this episode. Can you please, Ashley, I'm going to start with Ashley. Yeah. Can you, Ashley, give me your queerest moment of the episode, please?
Queerest moment of the episode? Honestly, probably everything to do with the fucking Horseman. Anytime you've got a grown man groveling in front of a big sarcophagus, it's just, he was like, Lord Apocalypse.
That's a tale of like tragic queer love, Ozymandias. Yeah. He's not even a mutant. He's just there because he loves that man. God bless him.
Yeah, I was like, God, stand up. Like, He just,
Girl, get up.
he's not that into you. Stop doing this. I don't know. Young Fly Apocalypse, I would understand, but that's a vending machine.
But some people like it. Some people like it. Like a big man on him. I like it too. Okay, Jackson, can you please give me your queerest moment of episode 1, please?
I already said it, and I'll say it again just because I get hot every time he says it. This device spits in the face of time. I didn't know that I could be
that baritone.
Into Forge. I didn't know I could be that into Forge, you guys.
That baritone. Daniel.
Jackson, stand up.
All right, for my end, my queerest moment of episode 1 was Rachel sitting bisexually upside down. I like that. Yeah, she's not sitting correctly.
Yes.
One of us. I see you.
Right. You cannot sit in a chair in a regular way.
Cannot do it.
All right, moving on. To episode 2. Could you, Jackson, give me your winner of the episode?
Ooh, it's gotta be Jubilee. It's gotta be Jubilee. She wins everything about this episode. She learns to punch cops in the face as hard as humanly possible while looking as fly as possible. That's a win in my book.
Love it. Ashley.
It's Psylocke for breaking that man's car for no reason.
We didn't talk about that. She did. That is so stupid. That is so stupid. Love it though. All right. Who's my winner of the episode? You know what? I'll just throw in with a lot. I will say Jubilee as well, because Mama did something, and it's been literally 7 seasons of her moving nothing for me, doing nothing. And so finally, she woke up. That's great. All right, moving on though. Can you, Ashley, give me your loser of episode 2, please?
Havoc, generally, because he was there. Any media in which Havoc appears, he is the automatic loser of the episode.
Say why.
It's a tragic thing to know that you are the lesser product of your parents and circumstances. Like, there's the better one.
He doesn't even know yet. This is still before he finds out who his brother is.
And still people are calling him a loser.
And calling a loser about his brother. Like, she does it. She picks up all. She calls him Budget Cyclops. Like, she does it. Like, she knows.
Yeah. And he doesn't even know. She just said a random name.
Yep.
It's like, you're not as good as Jeff.
She's still right where to stick him.
Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, you know, you're right.
I don't know why that fucks with me so much, but it really does.
Yeah. Because he knows he's bottom of the leaderboard. It doesn't matter what name you say.
Jackson, can you give me your loser of the episode?
I really hate to say this. My loser of the episode is a Knoll, and here is why. He's already got the arm. And what that means is that they're going to skip. They can't do that plot now. They can't show us the cool, one of the best bits in the entire canon of this character is him losing his arm to save his friends and then getting a new one that looks real weird. I love that character. I spent a lot of time on that character. Anole is a big part of both Colin and I's take on the X-Men. To see them already skip past what is going to be one of his more iconic moments bummed me out. So it's not because he's a loser, but he lost the plot lottery, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
On my end, I'm going to say the loser of the episode was not featured in this episode and replaced by Quentin Quire, because that's just embarrassing. Husk, bye flop, go flake away. Mondo, who? Skin, what? All right, moving on.
Oh, I do want to make a note. We didn't talk about this, and I just have a note here that bothered the shit out of me. All these mutant kids are supposed to be like secret mutant kids, right? They're like trying to hide from being mutants while they're chased by X Factor, shit like that. And Quentin Quire, he has an X patch with an Omega, and he has a Phoenix shirt. And I'm like, this boy is putting a giant crosshairs on all of you.
Good.
Hey, Monet was with that lineup. Don't you dare come for my girl.
To take one, take him. I mean, will we break you out? Yes. Last, though.
All right, moving down. Could you, Ashley, give me your blackest moment of the episode?
Oh God. I think maybe it's Psylocke.
It's the blackest moment?
Yeah. I think it's Psylocke doing what the fuck needs to be done while everybody else is pontificating about the morality of it. Okay. All right.
Fair. How about you, Jackson? What is your widest moment of the episode?
Ooh. I have 2, so I'm trying to figure out how best to play this.
Tell us both.
Okay, so one is just Emma Frost in general. I think Emma Frost is deeply white in this episode. She has no sense of societal or communal responsibility at all. Immediately sells mutants down the river for very little on the other side of it. So for that, she's really my whitest moment of the thing. But I do think it's worth pointing out that there is just something, I don't know if it's the whitest moment, but it is the silliest thing that Bobby is recruited onto a Black Ops team and immediately starts dressing like a superhero. I just can't get over it. It is the silliest coping mechanism I've ever seen. And the fact that no one calls him out on it means they don't take him seriously. It means that he's just there as the kid that they had to tag along and can still wear a super suit. So that's the whitest moment, but it was the one that blew my ear.
He is the blackest one, though.
It's not saying much about that team. It's not saying much.
When he goes into dark skin mode, you know he's serious.
All right, for my end, I think the blackest moment in this episode is Lorna, because I think Polaris' hairstylist is obviously black. That's one. And number two, everything she's going through, that's just like a light-skinned mixed girl journey. And she will come out of it at the end. You know I'm right, Ashley. You're going to resist me, but it's true. That's mixed chick antics. I know what she's doing. Moving on.
Things are being said that have never been said before.
All right.
Are being said.
And I meant it.
Is the whitest moment in the episode actually War's bowl cut?
I think maybe. I'm moving us along. Can you please, Jackson, give me your queerest moment of this episode?
Ooh, it's Lorna and Jubilee right before Lorna pops the bit and she's like, I got 5 minutes. You're going to get what you get with it. I think there's a really nice vibe going on between the two of them. And I love the solidarity that builds there. And it just felt good to me. So.
Love. All right, Ashley, can you give me your queerest moment of the episode?
Okay, so it's either camp. I don't know if it's queer, but it's camp. Jubilee putting on those headphones and beating people up in the corridor is extremely camp. I think the queerest one is, and this is also very camp. Everyone like, oh no, we can't lose Cable to Apocalypse. And then they go in there and he just gets like a makeover. He gets his nails done.
He gets his nails did and he's all right, y'all can go now. Thank you so much, mommy.
Is that the big thing?
It is a bit like a young gay going to uni for the first time. His parents are sending him off and he's just, all right, I'm good. You can go. Yeah. I have a phone party to get to.
Yeah. He sat on the chair. He put his hands out. They gave him a new set. He said, okay, everybody go home.
He said, new set, new hairdo. New set, new hairdo. Shout out to Likey Lee. On my end, I will say my queerest moments of this episode is Psylocke somehow being both Betsy and Quanon. That's a queer experience. Moving on.
Okay.
Moving on to episode 3. Could you please, Jackson, give me your winner?
X-Men! It's En Sabah Nur. It's En Sabah Nur. He has never been hotter. He's never been more powerful. He's never had more potential that's about to get, unfortunately, squandered by the X-Men.
Yeah, it was only probably
respect. I like that. How about you, Ashley? Can you give me your winner of the episode?
Death of a Butch Queen. I said Death of a Butch Queen. That's what I was talking about. Long hair, all this, and now look at in a harness with one of them bull nose rings.
It's okay. Next episode, he's gonna put down the wig and he's gonna pick up the weights.
Yeah.
I think my winner of episode 3 is Nur, because Magneto tried to stop him, Xavier tried to stop him, but Nur got his lick back. Hey, sorry. He's like, I'm gonna kill that man, and he said, ow. No. That's my winner. How about you, Ashley?
My winner of the episode is probably, you know what? He's probably Nur or Kang, because I always like it when somebody shakes Charles's cage.
Fair.
I agree. Temple. We tried to press temple with Kang. Kang kicked him off the side.
Nah, little boy.
He put that man on the side of the pyramid. He put him in the sky. He turned that man every way but loose. That bitch by her wig up and left and right through all these aisles. And when he came back, he was on the floor. He said, oh.
All right, Jackson, could you please give me your loser?
Yeah, it's that elephant. That elephant.
My
truly bodied in the most embarrassing way. No, my slightly more serious answer, Namor. Because there is a lot of talk in this episode about the first mutant and the only mutant, and there's only this one mutant, and there's a lot of Namor erasure going on in this En Sabah Nur. I'm just saying.
I agree. Actually, you know what? I'm going to piggyback off that one. I'm going to say my loser of the episode is Selene, another long-fabled first mutant. Flop, where you at, girl? Ain't see you anywhere on this show. Bye, bitch. Emma continues to win, and she will never lose. YTs unite! Ashley, can you give me your loser of the episode?
Beast.
Say why?
Useless. Hot. I know
and bothered.
Firstly, they don't make no shower gel then. Okay, there's no shower gel back then, so nobody's washing right. You're covered in.
He smells loud.
Yeah, you stinking. Everybody knows you're funky. You're funky and incompetent in the past. And when he was walking, there's a scene where he comes into the room and he's walking like Annalise Keating. Your posture is fucked up. Yeah, your posture is fucked up. Your science is shit. Your outfit is bad. You stink.
And we got a new blue lip here, and he does more than you. Loser. All right, could you then, Ashley, give me your blackest moment of the episode?
So, obviously, there's a long thing of like mutantdom not being totally synonymous with minorities. And I think that's obvious, and sometimes even such a basic point that it doesn't bear repeating. But here, they have inexorably tied the story of emancipation from slavery with Apocalypse the First Mutant. So, as it pertains to this particular episode and this particular narrative, I think it's a pretty one-to-one thing they're trying to make here. And so I think En Sabah Nur, I think like his reckoning with what revenge should and can do for him and what is proportional and just. Okay, this is the blackest moment. Nur being constantly lectured to by the people around him about how he should navigate his own oppression is a very black moment.
Yeah, I was going to say that exactly. For me, my blackest moment of the episode is Nur being gaslit by everybody consistently to not just see what's in front of him. But on that point, Jackson, can you give me your whitest moment of the episode?
Look, this pendulum swings both ways on this one. The whitest moment is clearly Magneto stopping his Kopesh from cutting the head off of that slave. Clearly. It's the most, what on earth do you think you are doing here? It's the kind of thing that if somebody did it to Magneto, he would call oppression.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
But he does it to Apocalypse and calls it a lesson, which feels very white to me.
Lindsey Graham was a respected colleague of mine.
Hey, my nation is in mourning right now. Like,
stupid. You're stupid. All right, last question.
R.I.P. Lady G.
Lady G. Yeah, and I completely agree. To me, that is also the blackest moment, and that is also the whitest moment. Completely right. Ashley, final question. Could you give me your queerest moment of episode 3?
Kang at the end of the episode when they did the lighting just on his eyes and he was staring maniacally at the ground, wearing head to toe Egyptian drag that you don't have to wear because you don't give a fuck about an anachronism.
You're not from here. You're not from here.
You are using a floating light interface. There is no consistency here. You're wearing that shit because you wanted to wear a cunny outfit. Agree.
Jackson, how about you? What is your queerest moment of this episode?
I actually feel exactly the same way, but about the character we will learn in episode 4 to be, I think, Arishem the Celestial. He does the exact same thing to Xavier. Xavier tries to just be like, what's going on? And he's like, let me read you my poem. And just like really just leans in and talks about the rocky shores. It's just like, he's just indulging all of it.
All right.
It's like, all right, guys, chill out.
I love that. I tipped my hat on my queerest moment a bit earlier, but I think just the ball and the Nur dynamic is just giving something that I've seen, I've experienced, and I'm free of. I'm glad you're free too. You will be soon. Liberation comes for all of us. X-Men. But yes, and I think that rounds us out. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any final words that you want to say about these 3 episodes?
I am glad to have a fun, big communal X-Men experience again.
Yes.
That's actually, I think, one of the things that I've been really missing since I left the Marvel line for the last, I've been out of Marvel for, almost 6 to 8 months now. It's been a minute. That something I've really missed is engaging with this stuff as a fan, and getting to re-engage with it with you has been a real delight. So thank you for having me. And obviously,
thank you so much.
I wait to hear what you think about the rest of the season.
Thank you so much for coming. You're obviously, third chair will always be open for you if you'd like to come back. We'd love to talk to you again. But in honor of your presence here today, I would like to give you a gift, which is the grand return of Colin. Does an impression? A storm! Flames of the sun, source of all creation, I summon a tempest of fire and light, whose flares ignite the spark of hope in darkness, and blaze our trail to end apocalypse, for we are the dawn that breaks his night. Ice, winds, storm.
Oh God! Like we got a lot going on. Just do the thing.
I did. You're welcome. And that's what completes our episode. Say goodbye, people.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's a pleasure to speak to you. It's a pleasure to speak to you too, as always. And we will see you next time when we talk about season 2, episode 4.
Yes, Rise of Apocalypse Part 2. Thank you all again so much, and leave a rating or whatever. Goodbye. Goodbye. And that was the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and apologies for the delay. We're going to be playing catch up on both Ash and I's feed over the next couple of weeks, so hopefully you're going to be getting a whole influx of episodes soon. But in the meantime, you can find Jackson Lanzing everywhere on the internet at Found in the Wild, and you can find Ash at Ash and Pod, and you can find me at Also Perp everywhere that you might find me. In the meantime, subscribe to Ash and Podcast and subscribe to Referential Podcast, and we'll catch you back here for the next episode very, very soon. Also, leave a rating and review. Be nice. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
To me, my X walks
Daniel?
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.